Hello, Miles to Go, Chapter 50. The Wild West has never been so dull. Alan Christopherson's diary. I spent the next day resting. I had a big breakfast in the hotel's restaurant, then watched a movie on the pay-per-view, one of the Bourne movies. You really can't go wrong with Matt Damon. I took everything out of my pack, releasing a stale, moldy smell into the room. I discovered a completely withered and black banana, a moldy deli roll, and a couple of half-eaten energy bars. I washed my pack in the shower bath, then left it open to breathe next to the window. I laid out my map, then, based on my route, compiled the shopping list on a hotel notepad. I was still several weeks out from Rapid City. Miles to go. I traced my route with the plastic cap of a hotel pen. I would stay on I-90 until I reached a fork in the road about 280 miles east of Cody. I could travel north on Interstate 90 up through Spearfish and Sturgis, South Dakota, or take the smaller road south to Custer, South Dakota. It was about the same distance either way. The upside of heading south was that the roads were smaller and less busy. The downside was fewer amenities. I elected to go south. I put away my map and went grocery shopping. As I left Cody the next morning, I felt weighed down, not just because I had stacked up on so many supplies, but because my soul felt heavier. The two-lane highway, like my life, seemed to stretch out to nothing. The land was agricultural, with large fallow fields for planting or grazing, the patchwork I had looked down on from plane rides in my previous life. The next 2 weeks through southeast Wyoming, I felt as if emotionally I had taken a giant step backward. I would detail my various stops, but it would only bore you. I know, because it bored me. I stopped writing in my journal. I stopped shaving. I stopped caring. There were few towns on my walk, the largest being Gillette, Wyoming, with a population of about 20,000. The city calls itself the energy capital of the nation and is abundant with natural resources, coal, oil, and methane gas. The town was dirty and gray, and I was more eager to leave it than I was to arrive there. There was a desolation of spirit that was as palpable as a cigarette stench of every restaurant I entered. Wyoming is one of the last holdouts on public anti-smoking laws, and smoking is as much a part of the culture as license plate-sized belt buckles. Simply put, every public place in the city stinks of 10,000 cigarettes. I've known people from Wyoming. One of my agency's media reps comes to mind, and I've heard tale of its rugged beauty and friendly, folksy inhabitants, but honestly, in this part of the state, I didn't feel it. Wyoming depressed me to the core, though I'm certain that it's likely that my feelings were less a result of the actual state than my state of mind. My pain stemming from a combination of loneliness, physical discomfort, and the unchanging landscape. Each day, the post-winter gray-yellow terrain that surrounded the highway appeared pretty much the same as it had the day before, and my toil felt like that of the Greek Sisyphus, each day pushing a stone to the top of the hill, only to have it to roll down again. Nicole's former landlord, Bill, had said something to me a few days before his death that I now had reason to recollect. Without his wife, he said, his life felt like a walk through a desolate and forlorn wilderness. Each day was a pointless trek with no one who cared, no one to ask him about his day, his thoughts, his colitis. That's exactly how I felt. Perhaps this walk through Wyoming was a perfect metaphor for my life without Mikhail. As I wrote once before, I was lonely but not alone. My companions were despair, loneliness, and fear, and they were a talkative bunch. During these difficult days, I called my father once and Faylene twice. My father spent a half hour telling me about his last golf game, and for the first time in my life, I relished each word. Faylene could sense my discouragement, and she lifted my spirits greatly. She even offered a drive out, an invitation I came seriously close to accepting. But an internal voice told me to push on through the shadowlands alone, that I would have to walk them sometime, if not now, then later. So I trudged on, and the more I walked, the more difficult it became. My mind began to work against me, to focus on the hard and the despairing, to see only the shadows and not the sun. 1,000 times I relived the final days and minutes of Mikhail's life. Worst of all, I began to doubt. What was I doing out here? This was an insane idea to walk across the country. There was nothing here, and nothing at my destination was waiting for me. My body ached as much from depression as from the elements, but not nearly as much as my heart. I knew that I was in a bad way, but in dark moments like these, it's not what you know, it's what you feel. And I felt hopeless. I doubted my motives. I doubted that I would ever finish my walk. Then, in one especially dark moment, I doubted my wisdom and not swallowing the bottle of pills. If it hadn't been for what I'd soon find in South Dakota, I don't know how much longer I could have held on.